So I wasn't planning on making this video, but I just kept thinking more and more about it, and it's a little upsetting to me, honestly. Basically, give you the rundown that guys that aren't incredibly chronically online like I am paying attention to Barcelona stuff. Three different major players in football YouTube have made a video on FC Barcelona in the past 4 days, and they're all relatively negative. Now, we're going to get into each one and get into how I feel about each one. But basically, the biggest issue for me is that they haven't talked about Barcelona in so long. And the moment they decide to finally do it, it's one of the most exciting times this club has faced in, I would argue, over 7 years. This team is playing incredibly well. It's very impressive. Yes, it's only 5 games, whatever. The only thing they have to talk about is really negative history. And we're going to get into that right now. We're going to go through each video here, but it's upsetting to me. All right, guys, let's go through a couple different of these videos here. Number one, it's Mackwell. I'm a big fan of his, and I watch all these other guys where I have in the past, and so I'm not really criticizing them. It's just upsetting to me as a Barcelona fan, as a guy who is on the same community as these guys are, to see them for the first time in years making very negative videos in one of the most exciting times that this club has had in a very long time. Mackwell made a video. Barcelona is the worst run club in the world 3 days ago. I think it's a re-upload because he has copyright issues because La Liga is incredibly strict with copyright. But it's like Mackwell hasn't made a video on Barcelona, as far as I can tell, 3 years ago. 2 years ago, Spanish Federation 1 year ago, Ibarman 3 years ago. He's not a guy who talks about Barcelona, and Barcelona is finally doing well, and what does he have to say? Negative stuff. And it's like, I get it. Okay, it's fine. You can make the content you want. You can ride the trends. It's okay. I'm not hating on you for doing that. It is what it is. I do the same thing. I use fire in my thumbnails sometimes too. It's upsetting. I'm just complaining here, and I'm sitting here ranting to you guys and yapping, I guess, but it's not cool to see. And the fact that, I don't know what hive mind all these guys are on, that they all uploaded it within like 24 hours of each other. So, right, we can go to Visit next. And Visit hasn't made his last video on Barcelona was 11 months ago, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, kind of 10 months ago. 4 days ago, a video on what even is Frankie de Jong. Seriously, what does he do? Oh, dramatic. I get it. I make dramatic stuff too. But it's just like, again, a negative thing on Frankie de Jong. Like, what does he do? Oh my God, this guy, like, the team is in such a good area. And these guys, the like voices you actually care about. So yeah, we see different creators talking about the tactics of Hansi Flick and why it's exciting. And then the purist is even making videos about Madrid right now and not talking about Barcelona for whatever reason. But I'm actually making a video on Madrid right now too. So it is what it is. But it's like, I don't know, my guy, like I watch these guys. I like their stuff, and he uploads so much. The fact that he doesn't talk about Barcelona for so long, that the moment he does is in a point where they are in a difficult moment. I don't know. And then Football Iconic just continues the trend. 2 years ago, 1 year ago, a year. Okay, and then he made one on Real Madrid a month ago, but hasn't really talked about Barcelona in a year. And here it is. The business of Barcelona, a history of politics and mismanagement. I'm not saying that these guys are incorrect, and I want to get that point across here, but it's just wild to me. Like, they all uploaded them within days of each other, and they're all incredibly... This club is strange. Yeah, it is strange. It is a mess. And look, I'm not saying the entire video is just criticizing Barcelona, and I get it. It's just talk like this club is special. This is interesting. This is exciting. Be happy. I guess I'm not even positive in my thumbnails. Most hated man in Barcelona. The most hated man in Barcelona, part 2. I get it. I'm just ranting, guys. I don't know. What in the world? How these guys... I just really can't get it through my head that none of them have made videos on Barcelona in so long. And the first time they do is in the best period this team has had in 5, 6, 7 years, however many you guys want to count. It's ridiculous. It's exciting. There's so many interesting points to talk about this team. And yet the guys that never talk about Barcelona are just going right back to all of this negative stuff. And I'm not saying this club is perfect. I don't want that to come across. It's annoying. That's all it is. It's frustrating to me that these guys have negative things to touch on still. And should I be upset with them, or should I be upset with my club that That's something we could talk about. The mismanagement of of Vitor Roque, it's a mess. What they did with him, the whole Laporta smoke screens this summer saying the Nike deal is going to come through. We're going to go back to the 1-to-1, things that we haven't done yet or haven't happened yet. It's a confusing mess, and I get it. I make negative titles and thumbnails and talk negatively, at least in my thumbnails and everything. But I don't know, guys. It's just, you know what I mean? These are the, there's not a lot of Barcelona guys. There's not a lot of guys that talk about La Liga even. There's no like Real Madrid version of me, which is wild. I say this like every time I'm in a video or I talk about Real Madrid. Do what I do, but about Real Madrid, and you will do well. Tell stories about these players, then you can become like it's so simple, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I just wish there were guys talking nicer or talking better about it. And again, I don't know. I'm just complaining. I'm just moaning and wishing that things were realistically. Better, I just think it's wild that Barcelona's in a great point, and all three of them, guys that haven't talked about this club in so long, finally get to it and are so negative about it. I'm just like, I also understand it as someone who has to make content that gets views, and I have to get views to pay my bills. I understand it. Visit uploads every 3 days, though, and he hasn't talked about Barcelona in over 11 months. The first time he does is criticizing Frankie de Jong for the fact that he's like disappeared, and that's like an interesting story in and of itself. I get it. It's just wild to me. I've kind of talked out of my feelings here, but I'm not like upset at these guys. I just think it's interesting they all did it at like the exact same time, and only have negative stuff to say. I mean, look, history of Visa and talking about Barcelona, it's never been positive here. Let me pull this up for you guys. It's kind of impressive, actually. This is kind of just his stuff. He is very rarely positive, and so am I sometimes too. But like the controversial collapse, it's not going well. Barcelona are in trouble. Okay, reviewing Messi to leave the entire history. Okay, that one was positive-ish, I guess. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. And then I guess that might just be their things. Those are the type of videos that do well. Like, I'll go to my channel. I'll criticize my channel too while we're at it, not my YouTube studio. I mean, look at me. I'm not the most positive guy either, right? Go to my videos. I was right about Daniel. Okay, positive, new most hated player in Barcelona. Not positive, most hated man in Barcelona. Actually, a positive video about Ter Stegen. I kind of back him a little bit, and he needed it. But then it's like normal. I was wrong. Okay, we need to talk. That was I criticized Ansu there. But again, a lot of these videos, I like to try to get away from that sensational, like crazy, how this player is breaking Barcelona's worst curse. Dramatic stuff. The story of the greatest robbery in football history. This stuff does well. And so that's why they're doing it. But it's also, I'm going to complain about it. If you're going to do it, I'm going to complain about it because it's my club. It's my club's representation to my audience, because there aren't a ton of people that talk or is like an English speaking viewer, YouTube football influencer kind of guy that they actually care about, right? There's a lot of people trying to grow their platforms, and that's cool, but it's like, it's different when it comes from these guys that have had viewers for years, right? Macwell and Visa and Football Iconic have all been posting about football for years, and so they have a very certain audience that watches their stuff for a reason, because they have a trusted opinion or they like their personality. Macwell, I really like Macwell, but it's like, I don't know, guys. It just rubs me the wrong way that all these guys are posting this at the same time, at the like most exciting point. They don't have anything to say about how Hansi Flick is just creating this crazy team with so many injuries, and yet Arsenal fans are crying like it's the end of the world when they had 5 guys out and Declan Rice is only out for a match. It's wild that Hansi Flick's able to do all of this with the struggling team he's had. I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to stop yapping about it. Yeah, it's just wild to me that these guys are all posting at the same exact time criticisms of Barcelona when there's so much good to talk about. I guess I'm criticizing Barcelona at times too, but I don't know. I just think the timing is convenient. I think it's wild. They haven't uploaded in months about Barcelona. The first time they do, it's not positive in one of the most positive times. Am I just complaining? Yes. Does it matter? No, it's weird and annoying. That's all I have to say. Goodbye. Peace. Thanks for watching. And video out this week. Live streaming on Tifo on Thursday for the Champions League match against Monaco. All right. Later, guys. Have a good night.